Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Norman, your host. Standing in front of Ohana. We're going to talk a little bit later to the boat owner, Tor Huff. Tor has got his boat here in Port Huron. We're in Port Huron for the start of the Bayview Mackinac race starting tomorrow. It's Friday night boat night. Lots of activity here in Port Huron. We had a chance to interview three guys that were involved in the Chicago race. We talked to Phil O'Neill, who was on Natalie J, who was the fastest 52. We also had a chance to talk to Tor about having not the best race that they'd had, and we certainly got a chance to talk to the folks on Eagle 1, and that's a really interesting conversation about how they got so far ahead, and that interviews are coming up, and we'll show a little bit about Chicago. We'll do a wrap-up of the Chicago Macao race, and with those interviews, and we'll give you a little bit of boat night, and then from there we will have the opportunity to come back next week after we talk to the Mackinac guys. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in a second. Welcome back. We're talking with Tim LaRiviere, who is the owner of Eagle 1. And Tim, you're the first guy across the line late at night. In fact, the picture is behind me in the Chicago to Chicago Yacht Club's race here this past weekend. And I just wanted to congratulate you. You were so far in front of everybody. Great race, and maybe talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was. We had a good start. It was high seas and big wind at the start of the race, and those are the conditions. You know, every boat is built to a certain design, and the weight and everything, and all those characteristics played a major role in us getting out in front. And we just continued to build on the lead, and it was just a wonderful race.
You're racing a 65 Andrews, am I correct?
Yeah, 65 Andrews. Yep.
That's somewhat cruising as compared to some of the sleds that are in the Santa Cruz 70s and some of those kinds of boats. Is that fair?
Yeah, and that's the differential actually, is we're 46,000 pounds, and the average weight of a boat that was in the class that we would have had to been in racing, they're all, 18,000 to 26,000. So we're actually twice the weight. And we have in the stateroom, we have there's a bathtub and or a hot tub, I should say. So there's a lot of furniture on Eagle 1.
I'm guessing that a lot of the 52s and some of the other sleds are not equipped with bathtubs.
No, they are not. No.
I'd make a bet on that one. You're a Bayview guy, and yes. I guess what I was surprised in watching the race is just as so far ahead as you were. My gosh, you guys had such a good jump on the crowd. And is it fair to say you were 8 or 9 hours ahead of everybody?
On the course, we were 40 to 60 miles ahead of everyone. That converted to ending up being 9 hours, the next boat that came in after us. But as soon as we crossed the finish line, the wind went to bed. So I felt bad for the sailors that were on the course. But we just got in before everything settled down. But we had a great run. We were in phase the whole race. It just seemed to be our day. Everything that we did and everything we reacted to turned out well for us. And in sailing, that the first get firster.
Right.
So we just kept increasing the lead and having a great time.
What was the hardest part of the race, sailing-wise?
Didn't actually have any. The hardest part was during the very first night, about 2 a.m. The wind went to bed. We did a couple of 360s. Then the air built a little bit and we got moving again. And then we went on the outside of the Manitous, which I was told that seldom people do, but that we were just chasing wind the whole race. And like I said, the crew was doing a great job putting the boat in position and maximizing the boat's best points of sail. And it was just a wonderful race.
How many on your crew?
We had 11.
It's a large group. Is this the first time you've been the overall winner?
No, I was the overall winner for the Bayview Mackinac in '97.
Okay.
On a different boat though. That was the Eagle one. That was it was a 46-foot Sparkman Stevens 46-foot one off. And but this is my first Mackinacs on the new boat, on the Andrew 65.
How long have you had this boat?
A year and 3 weeks. So we're just learning it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How new is the boat?
I'm sorry?
How new is the boat?
Oh, the boat is 14 years old. It's just new to me. Yeah.
Great party out from everything we've seen from pictures. There was a great opportunity to have some fun up at the island, as there always is.
We did. It was a special day for the awards. The crew was very excited, and we took away not only the overall for all classes, but we took away the first to finish, as you mentioned. And it was just if you could have planned a better race, I don't know how you could do it. Everything worked perfectly. Yeah. No failures on the boat of any kind. Everything was just great.
I would think with all of the creature accommodations that everybody would want to be in your crew from now on, instead of having to sleep on a tilted cot on the side and a sleeping bag, or catching 20 winks, in a cockpit someplace. I think you're going to become a more popular skipper maybe over there over at Bayview.
Yeah, well, the other boat, which we had for 20 some years, it was strictly pipe berths and a little porta potty, and it was probably the most uncomfortable boat that anybody would want to race on. So the creature comforts on the new Eagle one are really spectacular.
Is there any correlation between more creature comforts and getting older?
Certainly. Yeah. Even moving about the boat, we're not as steady as we once were.
A question hits me, and I've never asked this question before, but now you've won this race. And when you go back to Bayview, is there a price to be paid for like getting a hole-in-one in golf where you got to buy the bar around, or is there something that requires you when you get back to Bayview that you're going to have to reach into your pocket?
No, I think I got back last night late, and I went to Bayview, and the people were all so supportive. Wanted to know about the race, how we did, how we made that happen, how we stretched it out so far. But no, they're all very supportive. And I think a couple of them like to make silly remarks about it. But all in all, we're wanted to be good competitors, and we want to be good to the rest of the fleet out there. It was just our day. Yeah. It's not that the other fleets did anything wrong. It's not that other crews did anything wrong. It was just our day, and we were in phase, and it just seemed to work out.
Have you heard from other guys that you raced against that they were a little amazed at how far you were ahead?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And we kept building on the lead, which was interesting as well. So there were holes all over the lake that we sailed around and got around. And a couple times we went on Yellowbrook, we took a look, and, there were boats that were 40 miles behind us. And they were doing, a 0.6, and here we're doing 8 knots, up the course and just flying. And we couldn't imagine what was happening behind us, but some of the boats were just stalled.
Now, cruisers start on Friday. What time did you guys leave Friday? Because the racers start on Saturday. Am I correct?
That is correct.
What time did you guys start Friday?
I think our start was about 2:20.
I noticed in checking all weekend, just again, how far you were ahead. But as we were doing a conversation yesterday, I was looking at the course in the tracking, and there was still a 30 Catalina that was about 8 or 9 miles out.
Wow.
I think he was the last place boat. So it was, I think, pretty close to a 4-day trip for him.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. But I know that as I got off the race course and met some of the fellow competitors the following day, as I said, there were holes out there that we were able to get around, and they were just stuck in them.
Yeah.
Even talking to Chuck Fryer of Arctos, he spent a lot of time in some bad places and just couldn't get out of them. So
we saw a number of Facebook pictures where it was, you could have gone like the lake back home. I mean, it was just as clear as glass as you could imagine. It was amazing how slow it was.
Yeah.
And in talking with some of the other guys, there was anything from 0.3 knots to, in the same 12-hour period to up to 12.
Right.
It was a very strange race from a weather perspective. Let's hope that. Now, are you racing in the MAC to Port Huron MAC?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be in Port Huron tomorrow night, and
Yep.
hopefully have the same luck. At least the weather forecast for this weekend is a little better than it was coming towards the end of the weekend, this past weekend. So we'll see what happens.
And I'm hopeful for that because we have a little saying now in Eagle One that if it don't blow, we don't go. So I mean, we need at least 10 knots of breeze to get her going. That's how heavy she is.
Where does it set at 46,000 pounds? Where does it settle in? What's your perfect breeze?
My sweet spot is from 15 to 18 knots. She really gets up and gets moving at that.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you spending some time with us. We're having a chance to talk with some of the guys who were close to winning, and I think it was amazing to watch the tracking all weekend to see you come across. And it was fun because when you came across, I think I was in with 20 minutes when you came across, and then kind of watched. And I think the next morning is when I went back to the tracker, and I think the second boat had finally come in within an hour or something. So pretty remarkable. And again, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're very proud, and I want to just for the crew that might see this, I want to thank them again. They were spectacular.
Name the guys in your crew.
I couldn't go through them all right now, but I want to give a special thanks to Greg Hummel and Al DeClerc.
Okay.
They did a great job, and they positioned the boat and where it needed to be, and got us around the race course successfully.
Obviously, some very serious sailors and some guys with some serious experience, so that helped, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We'll miss Al on the baby Mac.
All right. Tim, thank you so much, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
We're talking with Phil O'Neill, who is the owner of the Natalie J, a Bottine 2015 boat that was the first 52 across the line for the Chicago MAC race, sponsored by the Chicago Yacht Club. And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
It was an interesting race with one guy running away with everything early in Eagle One, and apparently getting a little ahead of the wind. And you guys had every condition, I think, under the sun in the 2 or 2.5 days you guys were on the water. Is that a fair estimation?
It is. We were, frankly, very surprised at the breeze and the sea state at the start, and that carried on for quite some time. And then it totally did a 180, and now we're going downwind and incredibly light air. So,
what's the hardest part of that race? Was just the calmness?
Yeah, I think. And, trying to get most boats when they stop, they're so hard to get going again. I don't care how big you are. We were obviously tracking the 86 footer, and you knew that when she was going 2 knots that we were going to be parked for a while.
Yeah.
But that's all part of the game. I tell people that every Mackinac race is different, and yet every Mackinac race is the same. I don't think I've ever done one that's had consistent wind speed and wind direction ever. So you just need to be able to acclimate to the current conditions.
I thought when I was watching the tracker, I keep thinking of having a Ferrari and living on a dirt road. It just doesn't necessarily work that as well as you having a Jeep.
Yeah.
We've kept track of the 52 fleet this year because I think it's the best boat on the water, and you guys have had some real luck. The fleet is growing. Your boat is new this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Last year.
I think you guys are up to 6 or 7 boats now.
Yes. Yeah. It's we've convinced Fox to come in. They're stationed out of California, but they sail all over the world, and they realize that there isn't any better competition out there for a 52 than in the Great Lakes. We had Vesper come in from California as well. Duhan lives in Chicago, but his boat's from Florida. So it's a nice group. The owners are terrific. We're doing everything we can to make it so that it's user friendly. I think that lately some clubs have sort of forgotten who their customers are, and when it doesn't work for us, we just do our own thing. Last year I never had more sailing than last year, and yet virtually everything else in the country was shut down. So, and it's just a matter that we got together and said, how can we make this work? And let's just go do it. So
we ran a 420 siblings race last year to get the junior season off, because the only way we could get on boats is if you were coming out of the same household. And we ran it
right
to some critics at Crescent, and the upside to it is that we were idiots before we ran it. Then we actually ran the race, and I think we had about 20 boats. Wow, we were geniuses because we took the guess out of it. We put fathers and sons, brothers and sisters, anybody from the same household, and the kids went out and raced, and then we at least had a partial season. So
yeah, and I think that's terrific. You guys did a great job with that. And for us, I mean, it's sailing's always been a family thing anyway. With my two kids, my son-in-law, and my cousins. So we have a virtual single household in one.
is it a fair analogy to say the 52 today is what might have been a 12 meter 20 years ago?
I don't think so, because I don't think the average person would sail a 12 meter, whereas an average person can. Particularly my TP that we sold was incredibly easy to sail, and it's exhilarating to sail versus a 12 meter. People just wouldn't have the desire or the wherewithal to do one of those boats.
Yeah, this class is growing. When I say we, is the Great Lakes? You made a comment earlier that it was great competition, and it is. But does it match with the Mediterranean and/or California?
Oh, I don't think California has anything going for it, frankly.
Okay.
That's why Vesper's out here, because this is where all the competition is.
Yeah.
The Mediterranean 52 fleet is a total different animal. I don't think you'll see any amateurs on any of those boats, and they get sponsorship money, and it's a different game. And we're trying not to have that in the Great Lakes 52. Some people spend way more than others, but at the end of the day, we just want people out sailing and competing. And to that end, we make it as easy as we can for somebody to join the class.
Is this the most expensive?
There's older boats, like Vincitori. I mean, she wasn't a TP 52, but she's a 52, and she was one of the forerunners. And I remember watching her for the first time blast downwind up in Harbor Springs, and I said, now that is something I'd like to get into. And she's out here, and she wound up third in the Chicago Mac. So
yeah. You remember Bayview's had some success in the Chicago race with Eagle One, with you, and it's
Solutions.
Tim Profit even won his division, I believe, on his 40.
Yes, he did. Yeah, for sure.
Despite the lightning hits, and despite we interviewed him before the race, before he was taken off, and I actually thought I saw, and I'm pretty sure I've got it on film, that his auto helm was secured with duct tape, if I'm not mistaken. So it was.
I'm not surprised. I never had a doubt that Tim would be out there sailing the race.
Yeah. Is this the most expensive hobby you've ever had?
Well, it's the only hobby I've ever had. So, okay. I mean, I don't golf. I don't do country clubs. Sailing is what I do. And the reason being that I think you can do it with your family, and it's great to be out on the water, and we have a terrific state to do that in. So, yes.
Did you grow up sailing?
No. I didn't start sailing until middle of my 20s, and my father and I sort of just happened to buy a boat and learn to sail together, and we weren't smart enough to to do the mentorship thing, we just sort of stumbled out on our own and consequently made pretty much every mistake you can possibly make in sailing. But then you learn from that and you move on and gradually get better. I think we sailed the DRYA regattas 25 straight years and only missed 2 regattas in that entire time. And pretty much our crew was exactly the same for most of those years. So, I mean, I think that's how someone gets good.
A fair thread in this series has been when I talk to, ardent racers who started with small boats as kids, they only race. And if I mention the word cruising, they look at me like I've mentioned a bad word. You picked up the sport at a later age, in your 20s. And is that close to it? Is it racing or nothing, or is there some cruising involved there? You don't have a cruising sailboat, but is there something?
I mean, we used to have a Beneteau 36.7.
Okay.
And in fact, one of my children were very young. We had a CNC 35 Mark II, and then we went to a CNC 41. And our program was that we would sail the Mackinac race. All the crew would leave, although most of them were family. And then my mom and dad, and myself and my wife and my 2 kids and 3 of our cousins would pile on board, and we would spend the next 2 weeks cruising in the North Channel. Yeah. And we never went into a dock. We threw the anchor out, kids swam and had a good time and climbed all over the place. And we did that for many years. And in fact, I'd dearly love to go back and do that. But there are people in our sport who actually don't like to sail, but they love the competition.
Right.
That's not me. I love the competition, and that's what I do primarily. But I just like being out on the water and going sailing.
I asked the question. Sometimes I'm teased because my floating front room is as comfortable as my front room, and it's a sailboat, and it's not very fast, but it's very comfortable. So I'm not willing to get up a 40-inch television because I want to watch it at night when we're at anchor. So it's just
that's I totally get that, and one of my very good friends is exactly that same way. He has a cushy cruising boat, but that he'll go out and race sometimes, and everybody has their own niche.
We're talking with you Friday morning. You're obviously headed up to Port Huron. Any pre-race thoughts on this race? Other than I looked at the weather report this morning and it looks better than it looked for the race last week.
Yes, it does. Although I have to tell you that our navigator would send out detailed analysis every single day, and I finally said, "Look, I'm not even going to start reading these until Friday." Because no matter what, it always changes. And I can't tell you how many weather reports I have, and I'm looking at the start of the race, and I'm looking at what I was told was going to happen, and it's nowhere near that. So, I mean, I think you have to be able to adapt and sail the current conditions. But saying that, it does look better, and 52s relish going downwind and heavy air.
Yeah.
So.
I think anything can be better than what it was, and
I've pretty much very much.
I'm pretty much convinced that every app that has something to do with weather on your phone, if you just do if you read it and it's 2 days out, it's going to be the opposite. I think that's no different than TV forecasters. So who knows?
No, and what I learned sailing 25 straight years on Lake St. Clair every Saturday is that no matter what it looks like in the morning, you go out sailing, and 80% of the time, at the end of the day, it's a glorious day.
There you go. Well, listen, good luck this weekend. Congratulations on being the first 52. I'll go over the line this past week. And,
thanks, Greg.
Have a great rest of the summer for sure, and hopefully we'll see you along the line.
For sure. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Welcome back. We're talking with Tor Huff, who is the owner of 70 Santa Cruz Ohana, and you just completed the Chicago's Yacht Club, Chicago to Mac. And you didn't have as much luck this race as you may have had. So maybe just talk a little bit about the race and no wind and how hard that is in a boat your size trying to race. So what kind of experience was it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's sailing, right? It's sailing at its finest. You go out with a plan, and then your plan meets the actual conditions, and no matter how much talent or boat you throw at the problem, you still have to deal with the variable conditions. And we from a boat handling standpoint, from a boat standpoint, from a personnel and crew getting along, we had a phenomenal race, and everybody had a ton of fun, and really did very well. From a standing standpoint, we got out ahead early, and we're pushing up in the top 4 or 5 boats in the fleet. Got close to the Michigan shore when the wind started to get finicky, and it's one of those things where you're making a judgment call of, when do you get back out, or do you dive back in and look for a little more close to shore? And there at the end of the day, there wasn't a lot of gradient wind through the middle part of the race, 0 gradient wind, and so it was all trying to pick drainage offshore and that kind of thing, and we got caught. So it happens.
Now you got the 70 Santa Cruz, which is new to you by about a year. You said you had it for last year's 2020 MAC race to compete here in Mackinac.
Yep.
You
we got it just prior to the Bayview Mackinac race last year, enough to put in a couple of practices and organize a crew. And we did 3rd overall in the Bayview Mac last year, 3rd in class. So we know we've got solid crew. We know we've got a great boat. You just have to you got to put all those together with a little bit of luck to kind of reach the podium. So
were you surprised that Eagle One got as far ahead as everybody as they did? Or
as comfortable as that boat is, it's a fast boat. He's got a lot of water line, right? And they started a day earlier in the cruising class, so they had a different experience with the gradient wind. I think they were out ahead of the collapse of the wind, which gave them a comfortable position to be in. So I'm not surprised at all. It's a well-sailed boat. It's a great boat, new sails. So I think that's about where I expected them to be.
I've spent a lot of time in California. I lived there about 20 years, 22 years. And anything built in Santa Cruz if you're a California sailor, it's a downwind race all the time.
Yeah.
And they were built that way. And this wind was all over the map for this race. And then at some point, I saw pictures even from your own boat where it was as still as you could almost walk across the water. That makes racing tough. Does it not?
Yeah, no, it does. But I will offer that even with a crew that operates at the level that we're at and the quality of folks that we have, that there's always a difference you can make in light air. I had a very memorable moment in the middle of the race where one of our guys kind of came up and was staring at the main for 10 minutes and the head sail, and we weren't making any progress. I mean, boat speed less than half a knot, wind speed almost negligible. And he kind of stared for it must have been 20 minutes and said, we should put a spinnaker up. And we popped up a spinnaker, and suddenly made some wind. And once the boat gets moving, a parent kind of gives you a little bit more, and you can, in light air is a challenge, and it's not everybody's game. Not every sailor likes it. Not every sailor has that kind of feel, but it's as frustrating and challenging as it could possibly be. But there are moments where you can do stuff and go, wow, we nailed that. That's cool.
At the top of the chain, a lot of those boats have pros on them. Talk a little bit about your crew. Are you any pros on board, or is it just all volunteers and all Bayview? First of all, we should mention you're a Bayview member.
I'm a Bayview member. Yep. New. So this is a kind of a new experience for me. We have a lot of I think really talented amateurs on the boat. The crew that we have, a lot of the crew we have, we kind of carried along from Equation. Buying the boat when I did, and given my history in sailing, I needed help. And a bunch of the guys that had sailed traditionally and for a very long time with Bill Alcott I think as much as love for the boat as anything else, kind of agreed to kind of hang with us last year and get us through the Bayview Mac race last year and some of the post big race season. And the mix has been there. And so my challenge has been kind of bringing some of the people that have sailed with me over the last 25 or 30 years together with these guys from Equation. And it's a really nice balance. Not everybody made it, from any of the, any one of the crews. And it's a different mix than it has been in the past for both of us, but it works and people are getting along, which to me is fun.
Having less than the kind of success you'd hoped for in this race, does the post-event party the same if you win or you lose, or is the beer colder if you win?
That beer is always colder if you win. I'm not going to lie about that, but I think there's a material difference between, and this is just me, between the post Chicago festivities and the post Bayview festivities. And win or lose, the island to me has a very special appeal, for that Bayview Mac party and the people and the traditions that surround that. I've been to Chicago. Has been a race I've only done less than half a dozen times in my life, we've been, I think, on a podium once or twice in there. It's just I love the Bayview party. I love the time on the island after Bayview. So Chicago, we actually turned pretty quickly to move the boat back to Port Huron, just because we knew we had a good weather window, and you want to get the boat safe and secure in Port Huron and give the crew time to get it cleaned and turned around and ship shape. So yeah.
Prevailing winds, they're different races. What's your favorite between the two? If everything is, you had a perfect Truman Show background.
I have never sailed a normal, what would consider a normal or a median Chicago race. There's something about my karma in that race, I did it on what was it, 2011, when it was that huge set of three storms that came together in the Straits, and we saw 75 to 100 knots at Gray's Reef. I was out there kind of hanging on. I did it in 2017 or 18 when it blew a gagger and we were dealing with 6 to 10 foot waves and beat the entire way. So and now this one turned into an evil drifter. So I got work to do with Chicago on that race. So I vastly prefer Bayview. Now, not that we haven't seen our share of conditions in Bayview, in the Bayview Mac, but I like at least with the Cove Island course, the idea that you get some upwind, you get to turn a corner, you get some downwind, or you get downwind to the Cove Island, you get some beat coming up. I'm very comfortable in the Bayview Mac with kind of the three legs of that race: Cove Island, and then Cove Island to the Straits, and then the Straits are always their own unique challenge. So give me a choice. I'll take the Bayview race.
Now, for the second year in a row, the Canadian officials have said we can't go to Canadian waters. They went from August 9th now to the 21st.
Yeah.
So we have a shore race again.
Yep.
And my question is, you guys sailed last year in terms of mileage, probably as much as you've ever sailed in that upwind race.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you learn something from last year if you get the same situation, since you can't go across to Cove Island?
I don't know. To me, that's almost frustrating. Like, I'd almost rather, go to Cove Island, turn the corner and reach back across than beat the whole way. And again, that was a pretty wet and hard race. We have a different experience with the longer water line and the speed at which we, transit that course. So, for us, it's a sprint, and you reach a point halfway through and you go, we can be in another 10 or 12 hours, and everybody just sticks on the rail. Right. And it becomes a very, tough sprint. So you got to get your mind in the right place with that. I do think you learn in conditions like that. There are lessons from any race. Like we'll look back on the Chicago race, and what we do today is go back and debrief what we learned from that race. Where some of the opportunities were that we missed, figure out why we made the decision we did, how we might modify it later. And then you move on and you look at Saturday's race. Okay, that's behind us. Now we've got this new challenge in front of us. So where conditions don't exactly do what you expect them to do, I think is where the fun starts, right? That's where you've got to make, some audible calls. You got to change your plan on the water. You got to pay more attention to what's going on. My least favorite kind of race is a parade where everybody just kind of gets in line and just goes straight at the mark. That requires maybe less thought, maybe less attention than the other kind of race.
You're a successful businessman. You approach the racing, as you're talking about all this post-race debriefing, and you approach the racing pretty much the same way you approach business.
I do, yeah, and it may be that my weaknesses in both are part of a broader pattern of things. But yeah, I've always run my own business, and I try to surround myself with the smartest people I possibly can. I've never understood people who hire people that are less intelligent or aggressive than they are and try to dominate. I'm all about pack smart people around me, let them do their job. And my job in business every morning is to figure out what resources the people working for me need to accomplish our primary mission and to help our customers succeed. And a boat's really very similar, right? I think a good captain, a good skipper, crew coordinator, anyone, your job is to make sure that the people on that boat have what they need to succeed. I appreciate, if you will, with the people we have, their professionalism and how they attack their positions and do that kind of stuff. Like you'll take a bow guy and go, look, bow is yours. You manage that. That's you've got people that you can have at the mast and the halyards and in the hot box and that kind of thing. But I'm counting on you to be able to do all of the sail changes that we need when we need them to, keep your halyards straight. How you organize yourself, that's your job. I'm not going to tell you where or how to get it done, that kind of thing. So yeah, big parallel between the two.
I get that. I'm a collegiate coach, so our coaching staff is always young guys who are much smarter than I am, and you just try to mentor them along. While you're talking, I just had one really strange question. I guess it's just a personal question. You were on the water about 2 days and change. That sound about right?
Yep.
How much sleep, if you had to watch, how much actual sleep did you get in that 2 days and change?
That's a personal thing. So I'll go back in history a little bit here and just how I've been programmed to sail. I was that bow guy / navigator on, starting on a CNC, Tartan 37, CNC 41, FAR 40, Concordia 47. I came up sailing with Kurt Keim on all of these boats in the Victrix program. And I was always that bow guy that woke up for every maneuver, that never took his head out of the game. And you sleep when you can. And if you add navigating to that, where anytime the boat's changing conditions, you kind of want to have your head in that. That's kind of how I learned to sail long distance races, and I get less sleep than I should. So in this condition, even though I have greatly less responsibility for the moment to moment operation of the boat, I can't help but listen to everything that goes on. And when something changes in the heel of the boat, or the sound of the sound of the sails, or there's a winch cranking, my brain engages and I start listening to it. So, long story, probably across that race, I got 2 hours the first night, maybe 4 the second night. And then it's just, you're running on adrenaline through it. We had a beautiful run from maybe Beaver Island around the corner into Mackinac. And so, as tiring as the rest of the race was, that finish for us was about as good as it gets on a boat. So, that kind of leaves you coming into the dock feeling pretty refreshed at the end of the day.
You have a Facebook page, and on that Facebook page, there was some video from the back of the boat, I think doing about 12.6 knots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were doing 12 to 14 across the top between, and that's just fun. That was I am new to the boat. I'm new to the back of the boat. So I'm still learning how to drive a boat like that and what it feels like. And man, what a privilege that is. That's a great feeling.
I don't want to ask a personal question, but I'm curious, to campaign the boat, not the cost of the boat, are we talking 5 figures or 6 figures over a summer?
Oh man. Let's just say it's fortunate that last year was kind of an abbreviated sailing year. And it's sort of like boiling a frog. You turn the heat up slowly and the frog will just stay there as they go. We're learning about the cost, and my wife Lori is insanely patient and engaged. And in this case, the name Ohana, again, it's family. It's Polynesian for family, and it's about not just your immediate family, but the extended family of workers and friends and colleagues and shipmates and all those kind of things. Lori and I are committed to a family program in the sense that we want to have people we enjoy being with, and we want to help the broader sailing community. So yeah, if you talk about the dollars and cents, it seems to be there's a lot more money spent on these big boat programs than even I imagined going in. Yeah. But from our standpoint, we're keeping what for the Great Lakes is a great asset. These GL70s are some grand boats, and they've got a long history. They need to be taken care of, and it's our privilege to be able to kind of put a little money into that and reward the people that really take care of that. I mean, we had a bulkhead kind of crack earlier in the season, and I got to learn all about John Easley and some very talented fiberglass guys in terms of how you kind of fix the problem the right way, not just slap a little tape and hope. All of that's kind of unexpected, and it's a learning experience. But as a businessman, I've learned to appreciate quality and appreciate the people that kind of provide that. This is a phenomenal platform for that. It just does, as you said, it costs some money. So we're okay at the moment, and we're having a ton of fun to make it worthwhile. So
it's the black hole we all dump money into. So I guess it's just one of those things. We are a day before Mackinac. Well, actually, we're talking to you on Thursday afternoon, which is the day before boat night before the race hits. So I'm assuming that the boat at this point is up in Port Huron and settled.
Yep.
Well, listen, we wanted to thank you for your time, and we certainly wish you great success coming Saturday morning.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Hopefully sometime midday, well, who knows, maybe even Sunday night. If it's a good race and it's fast.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll know when we know, but we'll get up there fast as we can, and just really looking forward to Mackinac Island and kind of that Bayview family getting up there and enjoying themselves a little bit.
Appreciate your time.
Yep. Take care, Greg.